What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel. Check out the content. And with that being said, man, I wanna talk about a discussion that Jason Whitlock had on his show about Becky Hammon and Becky Hammon potentially getting a job as an NBA coach, right? And Stephen A. Smith has spoke about it. And so what they did on Jason Whitlock's show is they kind of critiqued Jason Whitlock. Now, Becky Hammon, like the season, her career, like when you look at her career, let's just start off like her career as a player. She was an excellent basketball player. Becky Hammon, I remember watching Becky Hammon play in college. Then when she didn't. I don't think she played in the I think she did play in the WNBA for a little bit, right? When they first started out back in 87, 97. I gotta look that up. I ain't sure. But I have known about Becky Hammon for years and Dawn Stanley because I follow women's basketball. I follow any kind of basketball. But throughout the years, man, like she has really you can see her progression, and she had an opportunity to coach the men's league as she at the men's level as a assistant behind Greg Popovich. Then she coached the summer league for the Spurs, and they won a championship during the summer league. So she leaves the Spurs after sitting on their being on their coaching staff for for a few years, and she take the job with the Las Vegas Aces. Now she just recently won her third WNBA championship as a coach. And in my opinion, I think some people might disagree, but I think this year was her best year as a coach, right? Because it just showed that, remember, last year they got knocked out of the Aces got knocked out of the playoffs. So they come back this year and they are playing for the first half of the season, they are playing like below 500. At one point in the season, the Las Vegas Aces, I think they were like 13 wins and 14 losses, below 500. So now, and the whole time that they losing, they even lost one game by like 53 points. And the whole time that they're losing, like you don't hear anybody throwing anybody under the bus. There was no dissension on the team. She was able to keep them together as a team, which I thought was, when you it's everything. It's so easy to stay together as a team with everything going your way and everybody and you win and you have championships. You got Asia Wilson on your team. Asia Wilson just won her fourth MVP, and so she was able to keep them together. One young lady left. What was it? Kelsey Plum. She left and she went to the Sparks. So I thought this year, for what they've been through, the ups and downs, was her best coaching year. I don't know if she got coach of the year or not, but I feel like she deserved that. I feel like she is one of the best coaches in the WNBA, if not the best coach in the WNBA. So with her winning, with her performance this year as a coach, now her name, people speculate, well, like, is she qualified or could she be like the first female to be able to coach in the WNBA? And so Stephen A. Smith spoke on it, and Jason Whitlock and his co-host, the three, those two guys at the bottom of the screen with Jason Whitlock, kind of pushed back on some of Stephen A. points. So I'm going to play the audio to what was said about this, and then I'm going to give my opinion, my reaction to what they said. So here we go.
There's all this conversation that seems to be ginned up about Becky Hammon, who just won her third WNBA title, I think, about her coaching in the NBA. And then there's questions. For some reason, someone's asking Don Staley about coaching in the NBA. And it's this. I think young people are going to reject and are in the process of rejecting this whole belief that, hey, women can do anything men can do. And so, hey, winning a WNBA title is proof that she could win an NBA title. And it's not. Again, I've watched a lot of the WNBA. Didn't watch the playoffs, but I've watched a lot. It's not the same. It's not in the same universe. But I want to, here's Stephen A. Smith.
All right, so right then, I just want to push back on what Jason Whitlock says, right? Now, I don't think that people are saying that women can do everything that men can do, because men can't do everything that women can do. So, but there is going to be some overlap. Like some things that women can do, men will be able to do. Some things that men can do, women will be able to do. It's going to be some overlap. So if Jason Whitlock is trying to say that there is no overlap at all, he is definitely wrong. So I think women can coach. If men can coach women, women can coach men. So I just wanted to address that, give my opinion on that right there.
Talking about why some NBA team should make a run at Becky Hammon, and it's just preposterous to me. Play the clip.
But I'm here to tell you something right now. Becky Hammon, this head coach for the Las Vegas Aces, I've said this on many occasions, and I'll say it again. She deserves to coach in the NBA. If 100. Men can coach in the WNBA, she needs. If I owned an NBA team, I would not mind giving her a chance as the head coach of my franchise. Because that woman knows what she's doing. Coach. That woman knows. Well, of course, Dawn Staley, the great Dawn Staley. But I'm just talking about Becky Hammon doing what she did in the NBA level as an assistant coach, and coaching the summer league team for the men to a title before she took the Las Vegas Aces job. She has been a staple in basketball, period. And I'm just really big on this, man. Justin, I believe men should not be allowed to be head coaches in the WNBA because you don't see women coaching in the NBA or the head.
And so let me stop Stephen A. Smith right there, because I don't know if Stephen watched my videos or not, but I said that too. That's why I even at the college level, like my favorite female coach, one of my favorite female coaches was why I blanked her name, but the lady from Tennessee, Pat Summitt, right? She's one of my favorite coaches. She had an ongoing one of the people she had an ongoing battle back and forth with was Gino Auriemma, the male coach at UConn, right? And I just didn't think that it was right in order for him to compete with her, at the college level, coaching females. But women can't coach males. Not even at the college level will you see a female coach coaching men, right? And so I just think that that's a double standard. I think, I think if you understand basketball, the X's and O's, you can motivate and you can recruit, male or female. I think that you can coach in either league. But women don't get that opportunity to coach in both leagues. It's just men. Like, men are the only ones, like, there is no overlap. Men are the only ones who can motivate other men, right? Especially when it comes to sports or something like that. And with me agreeing with Stephen A. Smith, who I most of the time I don't agree with, but I agree on this point. I just don't think it's right for men. I didn't like the Houston Comets when the WNBA first started up. The Houston Comets had a male coach. I ain't really dig that too much either, but here we go.
Level. If you're going to do that to the women, having a man coach the WNBA team, then a woman should be allowed to be the head coach of an NBA team. That's what I believe.
And that's what I disagree with. And it's all based on the false premise, myth that, hey, if a man can do it, a woman can do it just as well. Well, let me see a woman stand up and piss. We can sit down and piss. Can they stand up and piss? They can't.
He got to come up with a better example than that, right? I'm not going to get into no pissing contest, but I just like I said, man, it's some overlap. But I would love for these guys to explain to me, like technically, like, why a woman can't coach men.
And we need to come up out of this myth that everything a man can do. Can they run a 9-6 meter dash? No, they can't. Men can do it and have done it. But this is what drives me crazy. And this is again where I was just like, sports are off into this fantasy land. And everybody talks about the fantasy of sports and like, oh, if men can coach in the WNBA, yeah, because men are better coaches of athletic events because men in general have more of a passion for it. Men, our voice, the bass in our voice, people respond to height. And again, there's not that there's been no great short coaches.
All right, so he say people respond to height and like women can be passionate, and women are passionate. Like I always talk about like what's the lady name for the Reeves, right? Like she is just not I like Reeves as a coach, the Lynx coach, because she's just not a warm and fuzzy person. Don Stanley, when they coaching, they are passionate about the game. They not warm and fuzzy people like you think like these women are warm and fuzzy. They are passionate about the game. So I push back on Jason Whitlock when he says that. Who else? Like Becky Hammon, like when they out there and they coaching, they passionate about the game, and they don't take no nonsense from anybody. So again, that's not a good example because people can disagree with that. And when you talk about height, like one of the greatest leaders was Napoleon, right? And Napoleon was a small guy. That's why they say that, like short people have this Napoleon complex because they feel like they have to overcompensate for being shorter. But, if a man can be short and be successful, then it only stand the reason that a woman, not having the same stature as a man can be successful too. So let me get back to debunking Jason Whitlock.
Plenty of them, from Hank Stram to Vince Lombardi, but the taller you are, the more respect you command. Go look at the studies on CEOs and why there's a high percentage of them that are 6'2" and taller. This is what it's.
All right, so when you think about, I hate to keep breaking this thing down, but when you talk about like leaders and CEOs of big companies like Fortune 500 companies and stuff like that, those people a lot of times are hand selected by people who they're hand selected by people who want their business to have a certain image. Even with generals like when you think about Colin Powell and I forgot the other general, but they rise through the ranks because they have that look. They want them to be imposing and have like a intimidating presence about them. Even when you go into certain buildings, like municipal buildings, like the design of the building is designed like that on purpose because they want people to they want that building to have a certain type of imposing intimidation about it. They're not gonna have like a shack, like if you go into a courthouse, it's not gonna be built like a shack. So it's built like that on purpose. When you go into people's offices, they like people who do business, they like to have their seat sit up above like the people who sit across from them, and their seats are usually lower. So that's purposely designed. It's not like a natural phenomenon that happens, or something that happens by chance. So let me get back to debunking.
I think the way the conversation is rigged in sports through ESPN, through Fox Sports, through the mainstream media, it's a turnoff to young boys and men. And when I talk about jumping the shark, this is what I'm talking about. Steve, you fire first.
I thought Stephen A. had made some progress with his very true comments on Jazzy Jazz Ratchet, and now he just backtracks, just backslides. My God, see, that's why you can't trust the guy. So here's the issue, and this is the truth. If we were in a building that was on fire, and you could call 911 and you had that option, okay, help's on the way, sir, but press A for an all-male fire crew or B, all women. Who in their right mind would choose B? I don't want to hear that they're equal. Now, I have very little sympathy for any modern-day NBA player. They get paid a lot, and they have this incredible sense of entitlement. They don't even want to do their jobs every day. But I would feel an iota of sympathy for anyone that got stuck on a franchise that would try this stunt, because they'd be asked about it incessantly. And this would be the answer. Well, yeah, I don't really care who leads me. I can play. And in the back of their mind, no professional athlete at that level that is a male wants to be told what to do by a female. That is the reality.
See, now, if you notice that all of their examples come, they use their examples as to their physical examples, right? A woman can't run a 9.6, a 9.640, or a woman firefighter can't, but they don't give anything to like, oh, well, the women, they don't use that example where a woman she don't know the strategy. She can't recruit. She would not be able to motivate. So everything is physical, like that's just like saying, well, a woman is not going to reach a certain height or a certain weight like a man. It's all of that is just physical, the physical attributes that go into it, which even if you're an athlete, you don't have to be the tallest athlete on a basketball team, to be the most successful. We see that all day, every day. You don't have to be the tallest on a football team, or the heaviest guy on a football team is not the most successful guy on a football team all the time. So their arguments really, to me, don't really hold water.
Scap.
There's also, look, call me old-fashioned, but there's also something to do with awkward moments, situations that might befall some female head coach. Like, do you really want a woman in the locker room situations with a bunch of grown male athletes? I don't know if you guys, again, I'm a big movie guy. Any given Sunday, there's a female reporter at the beginning, and she drops her microphone and has to bend down there, and there's something swinging by her head. Like, what kind of awkward things might befall these women? Secondarily, to Steve's point, there's a lot of ego and.
All right, so the awkward situations could go the other way, like a male coaching female. So you don't like, as a male, you don't have to have any regard for the woman's privacy, like in women's privacy in their locker room. Gino Auriemma, I'm sure, when these young ladies are changing clothes, like he just can't run in there because he's a man, and men are stronger and men are more higher status, or so-called higher status. So that it's the same thing when men coach women. You allow people to have their privacy. You make alliances for stuff like that. So it wouldn't go both ways. It would have to go both ways. You have to think about stuff like that. Like, she will allow these guys, just like they don't allow female reporters, to well, they didn't used to. I think they kind of do now. Like, the guys make sure that they're covered up when reporters, I don't care if you're a male or a female reporter, like, athletes don't want to be, they want privacy. So,
even though they're not alpha like they were in the past, still like that alpha mentality of a lot of these professional athletes. I don't think that a female would command the kind of respect that they would need in order to criticize these players or to coach them in a hard way. I just don't think that I think that they fundamentally lack the authority to be able to do that.
Scap, you don't think Anthony Mason or Charles Oakley would appreciate Don Staley yapping at them to rotate a little bit more or hit the board with more?
All right. Before I get out, I just want to say that some athletes, like women athletes, women coaches and men coaches, both are going to have the issue of trying to get their athletes and their players to buy into their program. If like Michael Jordan bought into Phil Jackson's program, Magic Johnson bought into Pat Riley, Isaiah Thomas bought into Chuck Daly. And so when you think about coaches like Pat Summitt, she had all those girls throughout the year, Candace Parker, Nikki McCray, and all those young ladies at her Tennessee program, they bought into her program. So that's the thing. The thing is, they bought into her program, not because they were females, but they bought into her program because she knew what she was talking about, and she was the leader. she knew how to lead. So, their argument, let me know, if what y'all think, man. If y'all think that these guys are making good points, everything that they say, in my opinion, can be debunked. You can't, if Coach Pat Summer tell you that 2 + 2 is 4, well, you don't have no choice but to, it don't matter who the message is coming from. She know how to deliver it. She know what she's talking about. So, this go round, man, I got to give it to Stephen A. Smith. And I don't usually agree with Stephen A. Smith, but it don't matter who the message is coming from. As long as she know how to deliver it, she has credibility. I think all these women can be coaches anywhere they want to coach. So that's my take on it. But I want to hear like I want to hear somebody with stronger arguments than what these guys just gave up. They gave awkward scenarios. Women not strong as men. Women not fast as men. Women can't pee standing up. Those I just, those arguments just, to me, just crazy. So yeah, man, y'all make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to leave a comment, and I'll check you all out in the next video. Peace.